I mean, it's a huge story for Vladdy, for the Toronto Blue Jays, for the country.
Yes, for the country of Canada. While you were watching something else, by the way, Canada, United States, Part 2, Thursday at the Four Nations. Get ready for that. But this tweet this morning from Jeff Passan. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Toronto Blue Jays did not reach an agreement on a contract extension before Guerrero's Monday night deadline. Vladdy Jr. about to enter his walk year. He arrived at camp in Dunedin this morning. These are his comments just a few moments ago regarding the team and the contract.
Vladdy, were you and the Blue Jays able to make a deal on a contract extension?
El equipo y tú pudieron llegar a un acuerdo en la extensión.
Bueno, no, ninguno de los dos llegamos a un acuerdo, ¿sabes? Ellos estaban en un punto y yo estaba en otro, pero obviamente son cosas que pasan y uno tiene que entender el negocio.
No, we did not get an agreement today. I mean, they had their numbers, I have my numbers, but you know, this is business, like I always say. Things happen, but we all good.
Were you guys able to meet in person in the days or hours leading up to your deadline?
Pudieron reunirse en persona, especialmente a los últimos días cercanos al deadline.
Sí, los últimos días sí, obviamente ellos y mi abogado estaban haciendo los negocios, obviamente, pero no llegó nada al punto.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially the last couple of days, the front office, my lawyers, my agents, they met. They tried, both parties tried, but I mean, obviously we couldn't get an agreement.
You mentioned before, now the Blue Jays would have to negotiate with 29 other teams. Will this experience impact how you look at a possible return next fall once you're in free agency negotiating with other clubs?
Y obviamente se mencionó, obviamente ya vas para free agency, la competencia en otros 29 equipos. ¿Tú crees que esto en ti te impacta básicamente en regresar y firmar aquí de nuevo?
Bueno, obviamente me gustaría, ¿sabes? Me gustaría, como siempre he dicho, yo nunca he dicho que he querido salir de aquí, pero ahora mismo está el punto que tendrá que competir por traerme de vuelta para atrás.
Listen, I want to be here. I want to be a Blue Jay for the rest of my career. But you know, it's free agency, it's business. So, I mean, I'm gonna have to listen to 29 more teams, and they're gonna have to compete for that.
Is there a number he won't go below?
I'm sorry.
Is there a number he won't go below, or a number of years? Is he willing to negotiate at all, or does he have a set mark?
Hay un número exacto o término, año que tú no llegarías, o ya tú tienes un número en tu mente que ese es el que hay, punto.
Bueno, yo tenía el número en mente y cambié mi número por quedarme aquí como quiera no lo hicieron.
I have my number all along. I changed it a little bit. I tried, but it just didn't happen.
Were they close?
No.
All right, so those comments just moments ago as we sit here just after 9 o'clock Eastern time here on Hot Stove. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Toronto Blue Jays failing to meet a contract extension by the time of Vladdy's imposed Monday night deadline. Real quick, as a former player, what did you think of, or what do you think of the players not negotiating during the season?
Yeah, well, one, I think it's really good to impose a deadline because you really have to come to the table with your ball club and have a discussion. If there's no deadline, there's not going to be a discussion. And honestly, the discussion will be just club related. They will discuss when they feel like it. So if you put a deadline, you get people to the table. And then secondly, for most players, it's just the season is such a grind as it is to have to answer questions from lawyers and agents.
Yeah.
Vladdy has both.
I didn't know you could have both.
You and I Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I have one. I have one.
But he has lawyers, you know, to take those phone calls during the season when you're trying to get 3 knocks a night is very difficult. That's why most players kind of pass on that.
This potentially could be a real touchstone moment in the kind of state of the Toronto Blue Jays franchise, because Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to be entering his free agent year in his age 27 season. Obviously, in the prime of his career. Bo Bichette is also entering his walk year. This team, this franchise could look drastically different this time next year.
You're so right. I think what we're at is that we see some organizations that have a difficult time re-signing their superstars. Garrett Cole moved on from Pittsburgh, other organizations. But if the Toronto Blue Jays, with the Rogers Corporation, can't bring back a cornerstone player, then where are we at, really? You know, where are we at in baseball? And for Toronto to lose out, you know, they were in on Ohtani, they were in on Soto, they were in on Sasaki. They haven't been able to finalize those deals, and to let a homegrown player that's beloved, I think he's loved in Canada and by the fans of the Toronto Blue Jays, slip away, I think is a mistake.
Now, there's a lot that can happen between now and the trading deadline, but, I mean, they play in a very, very difficult division, arguably the toughest division in all of baseball. So if things don't start well or if things turn south, could you see a scenario where Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is traded at the deadline?
I mean, last year they were 74 and 88. So they're coming off a real tough season. And yes, to answer your question, 100%, because if they continue those rocky ways, then they have to really consider, you know, Atkins and Shapiro have to consider maybe retooling. And you retool by letting players like this or trading them and getting 4 or 5 prospects back. But no prospects are going to really replace 323 last year, 30-plus home runs, 100-plus RBIs. That's what you anticipate him averaging every year, and that kind of production is hard to find.
You mentioned the Rogers Corporation, and obviously that the ownership group that owns the Toronto Blue Jays. They obviously have the benefit of tremendous amount of funds to be able to pull off mega deals. What about the notion of, once free agency hits, of them still finding a way to re-sign Vladimir Guerrero Jr.?
Well, that certainly can happen because it's all about the money at some point, and if they meet that money. The difference when you have a Rogers Corporation as opposed to, let's say, the Mets with Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen can get on a plane and go see Pete Alonso, and they can sit and have brunch and talk about a contract.
Yeah.
The Rogers Corporation can't really do that. You know what I mean? They're just too big. And so it's going to have to be done by the front office, Ross Atkins, and of course, Mark Shapiro. So we'll see if it happens. It's a shame, but there's plenty of time. And if he has a big year, and the Blue Jays, the best way to keep him is the Blue Jays have a great year and they get in the postseason. That will rejuvenate his thoughts about the team and rejuvenate the baseball in Canada.
And once again, the top story: Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Toronto Blue Jays not able to come up on a contract extension by the Monday night deadline, a deadline that was self-imposed by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. As for another team in the American League East, the Boston Red Sox, they have some interesting things brewing. They recently signed Alex Bregman, of course, an accomplished third baseman. But what do you do about Rafael Devers? Listen to the comments of Devers and then Alex Cora. This was yesterday.
No sé, mi posición en la tercera base, no sé.
Yeah, I mean, third base is my position. It's what I've played. You know, I don't know what their plans are. Like, I know we had a conversation. I made it clear kind of what my desires were. And yeah, whatever happens from here, I don't know.
Sí, me dijeron voy a jugar tercera.
Yeah, that was definitely what was discussed when I signed, that I would be playing this position for a long time. I don't know what caused the change, but I know that I've worked really hard on my defense throughout the years.
Yeah, how would you react if they asked you to DH? How would you feel about that?
No. He has a lot of pride. We know that, you know, and he feels like he's a third baseman. He's going to work out as a third baseman, and then we're going to make decisions accordingly, you know. But I think here it's not about Bregman or Devers or Cora. It's about the Red Sox, right? And whatever decision we make is for the benefit of the team.
Do you think the relationship is strained right now? He doesn't seem happy that, like, the team has gone back on their word. Strange between
different people here, right? There's a different leader here. So, you know, Jaime is in St. Louis right now.
There's a bunch of different directions to go here. I think for me, look, we don't know what conversations are held behind closed doors and when and where, But it seems to me that Alex Bregman has been linked to the Red Sox for quite a while now.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised, I guess, I'm surprised that Rafael Devers is surprised. I mean, listen to what, he didn't even need the interpreter
That's right.
for his answer when they said, hey, would you be okay with them going to DH? He just said no.
No. You make an interesting point. Like, you're saying that, why didn't this conversation happen before?
And maybe it has. We don't know. But yes, it is odd.
It seemed like it did not. I think that when you acquire a guy like Bregman, you just assume that everyone's going to kind of drop in line. I mean, Bregman has said, wherever you want to play me, I'm ready to go. I've taken balls now. You know, they've only been in camp a couple of days. He's taken balls at second base. He's turned to double play. And yesterday was taking balls at third base. Versatility might be the way they want to go. The whole purpose of this is one of the Achilles heels for the Red Sox last year. And they had a lot of great moments. Their pitching staff came together. Duran and other young players really took the next step. They didn't catch the ball, and they've got to do a better job of catching that ball. And the best defensive team they have right now is with Bregman at third and Story at short. Now, that might not be the case. Christian Campbell's a young player that they love and think is going to be ready for the big leagues soon. Maybe it's on him. If he has a huge camp, then I think Devers is going to be a little unhappy when they break him.
I think you mentioned the defense, and if you look at the metric according to defensive run saves, since 2021, Rafael Devers has been the second worst in that category in Major League Baseball. He is a tremendous player, a tremendous hitter.
Yes.
But yeah, this is so interesting to me.
You know, he has worked incredibly hard to try to be a better third baseman, and everyone knows that. But there is an innate skill to being an infielder. It's just some guys got it. They have it in spades. Now, Rafi, it's not about the errors he makes. You get locked into errors. That signifies if a player is good or bad defensively. It's not really that. It's the range of your infielder. It's the ability to throw the ball where it's supposed to be thrown. Those little things, you know, he's not a top-tier third baseman.
Yeah.
Obvious by the numbers we showed, by the metrics there. It's all about how do you make the Red Sox better this year? How can they compete with the Yankees? And Bregman really adds a lot to them defensively, and they have to find a place that makes sense for the team, more importantly, than Rafael Devers.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously signed a huge contract in January of 2021. He is an accomplished player. He's one of the signature players of this current franchise, this Red Sox franchise. But ultimately, we serve at the pleasure of the employer, right?
What was really interesting is that, you know, really Alex took a line in the sand there on the third day of camp.
Yeah.
That was interesting that he chose to go there. But to me, it was a real baseball kind of presser. It was like a hang with him. It's like, well, I talked to the front office. They assured that I'd play third base. And Alex was like, well, that was
that regime is no longer here.
Hang with him.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a story worth monitoring as we roll to the 2025 season.